kindergarten, Mrs. Parsons back again with another fun project for you. This week we're going to be talking about architecture. And architecture is a term that people use to describe buildings or the art of designing buildings, and buildings like hospitals and colleges and your house and schools and any kind of building you can imagine is considered architecture. So we're going to be looking at a building that's very close to you, very near and dear to you, and working with that this week. So if you could grab a pencil, a white paper, some crayons. If you would like a ruler, you might want to grab one of those. It might come in handy. Grab all those things and we'll get started. So kindergarten, this week you're going to be drawing a picture of your home, your house, your apartment building, wherever you're living. We're going to be drawing a picture of that. Now I have a photo of my house just to show you in comparison to what I drew. The first thing you want to do before we start to draw is go outside and look at your house. Take a look if it's one story, which means is there one row of windows, or is there two? Are there one floor or two floors? How many windows are there? Is the door in the center of the house, or is it at one side? Is there a porch? Is there a walkway? Are there bushes? Are there trees? Is there a garage that you can see, or do you just see part of the house and that's where the garage is? You don't necessarily see a garage door. Is there a chimney on your house? What color are the shingles or the roof of your house? Is it a black? Is it a gray? Is it a brown? What color is your house? What's your house made of? Is it brick? Is it stone? Is it siding? What color are those things? Kind of really look very closely at all of those things and then come back inside and you're ready to draw. So like I said, I have a photo of my house just to show you what my house really looks like versus what I drew. On your paper, which we're going to hold horizontal like a banana split, not vertical like an ice cream cone, you're going to start by drawing the main part of the house. So my house has two floors. It has two rows of windows. So I'm going to make a rectangle. Now your house might not be a rectangle. Your house might be a long skinny rectangle if it's one floor. Your house might be a very tall skinny rectangle. Maybe it has a bunch of floors. Maybe it's more of a square. Houses come in all different shapes. You just have to kind of look and see what shape yours is. I'm just using mine as an example for today. So I'm going to start with my rectangle. Now I'm going to use a ruler for this. If you don't have a ruler, that's fine. You don't have to use one. If you don't have a ruler and you'd like to use one, see if you can find a piece of cardboard or even a notebook. You just want something with a really nice straight edge that's pretty hard and sturdy. And cardboard will usually do the trick. Even a cereal box will work just fine for that. So I'm going to make my rectangle here. Made those lines a little too long. So there's my rectangle. Now, before I go too far, I have my rectangle. Now I want to draw the roof of my house. Now, roof of your house is actually going to look a lot like a triangle. And you can see by my fingers here, it's kind of a triangle shape, except I don't have this top pointed part of the triangle. I kind of cut off the top part of it and just have the bottom half. And the roof actually is a little bit longer than your rectangle. So take your rectangle and just draw a line that's a little bit longer at the top there. Go up a little bit and draw another line. Now I want to kind of angle that in to make it look like that triangle, that bottom part of a triangle. And you can see there it looks like a bottom part of a triangle. Now, on my house, there's a garage over here, but we don't see the garage door. We just see the part of the house where the garage is. It actually kind of juts out a little bit too. So that's why I have this part here. For yours, what you might want to do is just, if your house is set up like this, just draw another smaller rectangle next to the large one, and you'll still get the same effect. So there I have my small rectangle for my garage because it's only one row of windows. So that means there's only one floor. I still need to draw the roof though. And so that is going to angle to like a triangle, except I'm not going to have the angle on this side because it's connected to the big rectangle or the big part of the house. And actually You make that roof a little bit smaller. A little bit more like that. So now I have the basic shape of my house. Now comes the fun part of going back in and adding the doors, adding the windows, the chimney, all of those extra features before we add any of the trees or plants or anything like that. So when you start drawing the doors and windows, you want to start by drawing the door first because the door is probably the bigger part and the windows are smaller. So start with the bigger part first and then you'll be able to place the windows where they belong. The door on my house is in the middle of the big rectangle. So I'm going to go about to the middle. I'm not measuring, I'm just kind of looking and seeing where the middle is. And I'm going to draw the door. Now my door has some glass on either side of it. So I made my door a little bit big so that I have room for that glass. And then I'm going to just go back in here and draw a smaller rectangle inside this big one. So there's my door, put a little doorknob there, and then I have those windows here at the side. So now I know where the door is, now I can go in and start adding windows. Now for the windows, my windows are, and most windows are usually a rectangle. You might have some windows that are a half circle or a square, and this is what we were looking for when we went outside and looked at the house before we started. I have 2 rectangle windows on each side of my door, and each of them have shutters. So I want to make sure I draw them with the windows when I draw the windows. So for the windows, you want to make a big enough rectangle, especially if you have shutters, to include the shutters. So I'm going to draw a pretty big rectangle here. And since I have 2 windows, I need to draw a second one right next to it. And then I can go back and just draw a line in the middle. I'm sorry, a line at either side, and I have the shutters. And then a line in the middle of that center section for the windows. The top of the window and the bottom of the window. And the same thing on the other side then, which I'll come back and fill in a minute. For the top windows here, I'm going to do the same thing. Now these top windows aren't quite as long as the bottom windows. So it's just this one's going to be more of a square or a shorter rectangle. It's not going to be quite as tall a rectangle as the bottom windows. But when you're drawing your house, just look at the different shapes that make up your house. There's probably a lot of rectangles, a lot of squares, maybe some half circles. Just look at the shapes. You don't have to look at the little details on the shutters or the windows. Just look at the outside shape, and that's going to help a lot with drawing the windows and the doors and every other part of the house as well. So I'm going to just finish drawing these windows and then we'll talk about the next step. So I went ahead and just finished drawing all the rest of my windows in, including the little half circle windows and things that are on my house. I also drew the chimney, which is just a really long, skinny rectangle coming out of the roof. Once you have all that done, then you can go back if you want, you don't have to, and add the flowers and the trees and the bushes and the things in front of your house. Now, the one thing I did forget to draw is my little porch here, which is basically just a rectangle again. Like I said, a lot of your house is going to be rectangles, squares, half circles, very basic shapes that you're just going to put in to make it look like your house. So I have my porch. I have drew some of the bushes in the front of my house. So I'm just going to draw those, and I'm just going to make them almost the same way you would make clouds. Just going to draw those ovally shaped bushes so I know where they go. And then we can start to color. Now to color, you're going to want to use crayons, maybe colored pencils. I wouldn't use markers for this. Crayons and colored pencils are going to be your best choice. And just take remember what you saw when you went and looked at your house before we started. You looked at the color of the shingles, the color of your house, if it's stone, if it's brick, what color the shutters are, what color your front door is, things like that. And just pull out the closest colors to each of those that you can find in your box of crayons or colored pencils. And then you'll be able to get started. Now, for the roof, a lot of times the roof is going to be a gray, a black, a brown, a tan, something like that. So take one of those colors and you're just going to color that in. And when you color, make sure that we always stay inside the lines. And you also want to try and color all in one direction. Remember, we don't want to be coloring up and down and sideways and back and forth. It just looks really messy. So you want to try and color all in one direction. Like I'm coloring back and forth. I'm not going up and down. I'm going in straight lines back and forth. So you would color the roof in that way. Don't want to forget the little garage roof here. Now, your house is probably going to look a little bit different than mine, and that's great because every house is different. Just like each of us, every house is a little bit different. I'm just showing you how to draw my house because a lot of it's going to help you draw your house. A lot of times, if you have brick on your house or for the chimney, it's going to be a brown, maybe with a little red or maybe an orangish brick. So the way you can get that orange brick or that reddish brick is take your brown and color super duper light. And then if it's an orange, take the orange crayon and color over it really, really light, like just barely touching the paper. And then take brown over it again. And you have a little bit of that orangish brick. That's what I did with the front of my house. Since the front is brick, I also put a little bit of gray in there, but you can just color it one color too. I got a little fancy with all my colors, but you don't have to do that. My front door is a dark red, so I'm going to color that. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time showing you how to do the coloring because everybody's house is different, has different colors. So I'm going to just show you some basic steps and then I'll let you get started coloring your house. For the bushes, probably your bushes are going to be green. So color those in. And I did it with a darker green and then I took a lighter green and just went over it to fill in the little spaces that I missed. And it makes them look a little more realistic and a little more ready for summer, which I'm sure we're all ready for summer. So there you go. Just finish coloring your house in. And when you're done coloring the house, you can also go back then and draw the grass, fill in the sky. And I'm sure Mom, Dad, Grandma, Grandpa are gonna really love to see the picture of your house. So I hope you have a lot of fun drawing your house this week for kindergarten. Like I said, make sure you go out and look at the front of your house first and take note of how many windows there are, where the doors are, what color things are before you start to draw. You can always go back out and look, but it's nice to have a really good idea of what things look like before you get started so you're not getting up and going outside all the time. Have fun with this. I got a little fancy with my coloring. You don't have to get as fancy as I did. I can't help myself sometimes. So just do the best you can. And if Mom and Dad could email me a picture of your house when you're finished, I would love to see it because I'm sure you're going to do a great job with these. You've been doing a great job with all the projects I've been seeing, and I can't wait to see what you come up with this week. So I'll see you next week with another fun project. Have a great week.